Hi, my name is Mark Anthony Dubose Jr. I was born July 4th, 1986. I want to say thank you for tuning in. Today I want to talk about some dog training tools and my opinion on why I believe they are making things worse for most people with their dogs, because we're using them in the ways that they were not intended to be used. In the sense of dog training tools, they are, for the most part, most all of them, all the collars and systems and clickers and prongs and e-collar and everything, they're really, really amazing tools. But there always needs to be a time and place. They're amazing tools for using them the way that they were intended to be used for, is to build intensity. And the two tools here I want to talk about today are these two in specific. E-collar, I got this little purple one, I don't know why, and my clicker. My clicker is kind of funny looking, but it does make a really loud noise. These two tools are meant and were created to build intensity in the dog. They were made to get the dogs to want to perform more and do more reps at a higher, more intense, more just strong, just hard, just go and go and go and go. That's what these tools are created to do. And that's in reality what the tools are doing to the dogs when you put them on the dogs. It's creating the drive in the dog to get more intense. But yet we have like this new stuff and these new ways and these new things that are trying to be like, oh no, we can change the focus of the dog to, if it used to be intense over there, we can get it to not be intense over there, but come over here. But here's the thing. All you're doing is changing focus of the intensity over there to now there's a new intensity focus high drive over here. You don't get out of that like hard, hyper fixated, just drivey dog. You're creating the dog to want to keep doing that. That's why in most cases, so say with the clicker side of it, that's the tool up front that most people are like, oh, this looks like fun to get the dog to sit, to get the dog to heel. The main thing here is if this stuff, you get superficial results on the concept of being where they were created to be used at, in a training environment, in a training arena, on the training field, inside of the house. But as far as real world, outside, just going for the walk around the park, that's where you're gonna start to have issues. Because you're gonna start to have the issues that inside of your home, you have this level of intensity that you're driving into the dog. And then now you're gonna go into public. Now if you're trying to use that intensity to say, don't look at that, but look at me instead, the dog is going to be so hyper aroused, so just on 10 mode, just like jumping, dancing, going, wanting to just be an explosion to the world. We're not creating the dog to take that explosion away. We're saying we're trying to channel the dog to focus even harder and harder and harder. So in a training field, it's a beautiful thing. So that's why in the concept, I will be talking about that on my training videos of watching. You're gonna watch my dog through everything that I'm just doing on a simple sniff to search that I'm doing, that you're gonna watch his intensity just start to get I want him to go insane. It's gonna go insane. And someone gonna look at that and say, hey, that looks good. But does that look good if you're just walking and going to the park right now? That's a nightmare. That's why most of this stuff, most of these tools, as soon as you kind of start them, you kind of get stuck in them, because what starts to happen is you start to create a dependence. And then a dog is now dependent upon that to be able to know how to function and not know how to just figure things out on its own. Because most of these tools, what are they made for? The sports stuff. And what are we doing in most of the sports stuff? A routine. A routine that we're doing over and 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 over. And the dog just gets stuck and hooked in this routine. But what happens when something new comes in? This is where the new sport of the PSA is starting to, it's not new, but it's a newer compared to the rest, is getting interested in the high levels, because they're starting to get out of the routine and start to get into just, it's a free-for-all, whatever happens. And that's where most dogs fail. When you're in the training environment, you're teaching your dog to sit, you're teaching your dog to heel, you're teaching this, you're teaching this, you're teaching this, you're teaching this, and then something new happens. You see, so for instance, something that just came up with me is watching my Dalmatian. She heard a peacock call for the first time. She's like, what the heck is that? She just got like looking at it like, what is that? There's new things like that are always going to happen. A new small dog, a new big dog, a new medium dog, a new person, a new kid, a new bike, a new stroller, a new whatever, a new motorcycle, a new garbage truck. There's always going to be new things that are coming. And when you're trying to get the dog to say, hey, focus on me, you're building the intensity for the dog to focus on you, and it's going to blow up. And then when it sees something new, it's not going to know how to handle that. And so it's going to have another explosion. The explosions that most of y'all see when your dog is barking and lunging and barking and going crazy, because you're actually desiring the dog to want to do that. You're teaching it to do that. And I don't say you're desiring it, but the stuff with these methods is teaching the dogs to do that, is to keep getting them get more and more and more and more and more excited, more and more and more intense, more drivey, more pushy, more demanding to be able to get the task done. And then we're wondering what's going on here. And then what starts to happen is the dog is now relying on you for every other step. You're going to click, you're going to feed, you're going to click, you're going to feed, you're going to click, you're going to feed, you're going to click, you're going to feed. And then when you start to just, I've got to spread it out, you're going to go to intermittent, I think I said that right. And then you're going to click every 5 or 6 steps. And you're going to click every 10 steps. You're going to click every minute. They're going to click every 2 minutes. Now what starts to happen is the dog is so dependent on that click, it doesn't know what to do without it. It's going to be in just this abyss of like, I don't know what to do right now. I don't know where to go, because we're not actually showing the dog how to be in the environment. We're saying, just look at me and everything is going to be fine. But it's not, because there's something out there that the dog is scared of. This is another thing of why most all say training stuff, again, in the training field, there's most cases not things that the dog is terrified of. So the dog is just focused on its mission. With sniff and search stuff that I do with my dog, I do have my other dogs around, but I'm going to even lock them up and put them away until he can really focus in. There's nothing that's a danger, a threat to him on the training field. There's nothing that's a danger and a threat inside of the house. There's no threat in here. So the dog is going to be able to focus and stay focused in it. But when there's something over there happens, now the dog is going to get like, what do I do? And then it's going to use that intensity, and it's going to come back to look for you for support. And if you don't have what it needs for support in that instant that it's starting to just doesn't know how to handle his emotions, it's going to have an explosion. It's going to blow up. It's going to do what it needs to do. And all of these tools and these methods are used to get the dogs to be intense. It's not to get the dog to stop doing something. There's no sport out there that we're like, oh, we want the dogs to just be mid. We want them to be mild. We want them to just be hanging and calm and relaxed. There's no dog sports like, I haven't researched that yet to see if there's a sport out there to see who can get the dog to just lay down and hang out the best. And that's what you're actually looking for as a pet dog owner. You're looking for your dog to lay down and hang out the most. But what the sport stuff does is creates the dogs to be more, run faster, run harder, bite harder, bark harder, lunge harder, search harder. It's not a opposite effect. And that's why there's like a conflict of interest here when you're trying to use stuff to create the dogs to want to get more intense thinking. I want to get the intensity away. You have to do the opposite of to get the intensity away, which in most cases is throw the tools away. As soon as you throw the tool away, you're going to officially start doing the opposite. And then you're going to start to be able to see a difference of, instead of building it up, you're going to start to build it down. You're going to start to make it go down. Because this is the thing that a lot of people get in a lot of sticky situations with this reactivity stuff and dog training, and thinking that you can dog train your way through your dog to get better with being reactive on the leash, or reactive in just any sense, even inside of the house and all this stuff. Because what starts to happen is you are taking to the dog, and you are saying, hey, you're scared of that, and you're just straight up. I'm going to do it in the simplest way. I'm going to use my little machine here too with it. The dog is looking at another dog. This is the common method that I see that most everybody does. This is the common thing that I see. It's not everybody, but this is the common thing that I see, and why most people, you start with this little clicker machine thing, and you're like, I don't know, now I need more. Now I need balance training. It always starts this way, but you're starting the process of how I teach my Border Collie and how I teach my Pyrenees how to be able to do. So this is how the start of it. I never used a clicker with this because I never needed to, because I could just verbally say it, what I'm looking for. But this is what you would do. Your dog is looking at another dog, and you're waiting. If the dog comes back and looks at you, click, feed the dog. So the dog looks at another dog. It doesn't react. It looks back at you. You click, you feed the dog. And you're thinking in your mind, oh, I'm rewarding the dog for looking back at me. But what's really happening is you're rewarding the dog for staying focused and looking at that other dog. And then through time, what starts to happen is you notice that your dog starts to just want to look. They don't want to look at you more. They're looking at you for the guidance of what to do next. And as soon as you make any small mistake, because you're building intensity here, you're building intensity. You're getting the dog to like look. And so at first the dog looks and it looks at you. It looks and it looks at you. But after a couple of days, the dog is like, look. They start to act like that. You're building the intensity. So now you're building the intensity of the dog of getting it to need to do something with this intensity. It can't just look at you. It has to do something. That's what we're doing with the dogs when we're using this stuff, is to get them to do something. Not to do nothing, but to do something. So you're clicking, you're getting the dog to look at you. All that you're doing in that sense is creating that dog to get the words that I use is watch them. Watch them command. Make sure that if that dog comes closer to me, to get that crap out of here. That's how we train all these protection sport dogs to really start to just know how to laser focus in. We want them to focus. We want them to look at it, to build that intensity, build that intensity, build that intensity. And then you give that next cue of go get them, go bark and hold, go after the bite sleeve, go make sure that they get the heck out of here. So I build that intensity on my property here so my border collie is only on if there's a car in the driveway, in the gate. So I can clearly see, like, if it's there. If they're driving past slow, he's off duty. But if a car is driving by slow for the Pyrenees, he's up, what's going on? If there's a person walking for the Pyrenees, he's like, up, what's going on? He's got a whole different sense behind him, and I've been working on that. Look at the person, good boy, good boy, good boy. Look at the person, good boy, good boy. And then what starts to happen is that intensity builds. And then what do I want? He lets out that first bark. And then what do I do when he lets that bark out? Good boy, good boy. But here's the thing. You may not be saying good boy when that dog does that first bark, but you touch it. You do something to the leash. Now you're just reinforcing that is what I want you to do. I want you to focus over there and do anytime that something over there moves, you bark that crap away. Because you're building and building and building and building. You're not making it go down. To make it go down, you got to do the opposite. Nothing at all. When you see the dog looking at another dog, just dude, look at the dog. Look at it. That's how I got all my dogs to just hang out here. When I see, so this is what's fascinating because I have them all here. Hold on, this thing. I have them here, but yet if one starts barking because there's a person in the driveway, the others don't. Because the others are completely off duty. I've never done these games with them. When they would see it, I'd just look at them just like, I don't feed anything into it. But Shadow, when he barks, I'm pretty much like every time he does, I say, good boy. And then depending on what I'm doing, if I need him to, I'm just making a video and I don't want to just be barking, I just say, hey man, not right now. And most, not 100% of the time, but 90, I'll be even put about 70, 75% of the time. If I'm here, he always stops. If I'm somewhere else, I got to say it a few more times. But that's what I've been putting in him for the past, I don't know, dude's like 4 years old now. But it's interesting that they can all know a different role because of what I was doing to build that intensity to get them to do what they do. And that's what most of y'all are doing with your dog and wondering, why is my dog reactive? Because you're actually training it to react. You're wanting it to react as opposed to guiding it to say, hey, let's not do this. Let's not do this. I see you looking at that dog. I see that you're a little nervous right now, but let's just look at it. Just look at it. Look at it. But instead, the dog's looking at it and you're trying to do like some change of focus here. Get it to look at you instead. You're looking at, look at me, look at it, and you're building that dog. That's why at first it can look cute and it looks pretty and it looks fun. But what starts to happen in the end is that intensity starts to just get in, as the word is, intense. It starts to get powerful. It starts to get real drivey. And then that's the moment that something next has to happen. Because you're not teaching it to go down, you're teaching it. And when it goes up, it's the barking. And then what comes after the barking? The lunging. Then after the lunging, comes the barking and lunging and the pulling and the just craziness. And you're coaching the dog to keep doing that. That's why a lot of these things, it sounds pretty. It sounds like, oh, that's what I want for my dog. But it's actually setting you up for I don't want to use the word danger, but it's setting you up for a lifelong management of this animal and not learning how to be able to get it out of the animal. Because what happens is you get the dog that now you just trained it to know how to go and alert and bark and guard. Now you need the balance trainer, right? Because, oh my goodness, I don't know what's going on here. So now the balance trainer comes in and he says, well, I got this system. I got this system here for you, buddy. I know when your dog looks over at the e-collar system. I say that because I just showed it. But if the dog now looks at another dog, we're just going to give him a little bit of a tap. And if he makes the right choice to come back out of that tap, we're going to go ahead and give him a treat. So now we're layering in two systems now. Now we're telling it to look, now we're telling it not to look, and now we're going to reward it for the dog is just like, but you want me to do it, but you don't want me to do it, but you want me to do it, but you don't want me to do it. That's where the confusion leads to chaos, and that's where the things start to get really weird with the dogs, and why you just never, the word I want to use here is can trust them, because it seems like things are okay, but then it's like, I'm not sure, because you're telling them yes, and then you're telling them no sometimes. You're telling them yes sometimes, you're telling them no, and sometimes you're telling them yes and no at the exact same time. So the dog's like, I don't know what the heck you're looking for right now. You're not giving me the proper feedback. So that's where it's like, oh, I thought it was good to go. You put the e-collar on and you're like 2 days into it, 3 days into it, you're like, success, my goodness, things are smooth. But you're not actually taking the intensity away. You're still building more and more and more intensity. That's why the dogs just keep getting more and more and more and more jazzed up. And you need what? More and more and more and more pressure on that collar. You keep pushing that button a little bit more. It always starts off cute, fun, and pretty. It's like, oh, I just use the low numbers on it. I just use like a 2 or a 5. But you always, this is going to be an always. And if you haven't done it, then you got the magic sauce. But all the guys out there that really, really even talk about using this equipment in the way to say we are supposedly helping people, you got to dial it up. You got to dial it up. You got to hit them once, 2 or 3 or 4 times. You got to dial it up to get into that dog's brain of stop doing that. But it doesn't make it go away. It only makes the dog be more heightened, aroused, and more aware. And the biggest problem is it starts to make the dog more dependent and not independent. It starts to make the dog need to be more all smothering you to learn about what to do next. It needs to always get information from you to figure out what to do next. Sorry, I just found some eggs. Every time they go bucking and clucking, it's after they laid an egg. I'll make a whole video talking about chickens one day because I've learned some real interesting stuff about them. But you're not taking the intensity away. So she's just going to be bucking and clucking. I'm just not going to do anything about it right now. So it is what it is. I'm on a farm. The intensity goes. So what starts to happen is the dog is looking at the other dog. It doesn't know what to do. It only knows I'm either going to have to look back at you and build that intensity and get a treat, or if I get a little too out of control where I might want to start to bark, I'm going to get something here that's coming from me as well again. And that's where the confusion is going to happen, because now the dog doesn't know how to handle anything on its own. When it gets this weird sensation of I don't know what to do, you have to always just keep coming back at the dog again, coming at the dog again, coming at the dog again, coming at the dog again, saying something to the dog again, trying to convince the dog to get out of it again. It's just like a cycle that always just keeps going and 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 going. It just don't disappear. It just doesn't disappear. And that's the part well, I can say most of the times when I see dogs like this out in public, they can't be in public. They have to be in this like extreme regiment. Or there's just like some weirdness that starts to go on because we're not taking the intensity away. We're building it. And that's why a lot of these dogs get this my opinion on why I'm looking and really studying my Shepherd Kahi, why he used to have dogs like literally come up and attack him before, because I was building his intensity to be so high. Whereas now his intensity is like pretty much almost gone. And now he doesn't have issues at all with the dogs. So when his intensity was high, he's giving this energy off to the rest of the world of like, I'm gonna do something. And then that other dog is like, holy crap, man, what are you about to do to me? And they just have this tiff that just has to happen. As opposed to I take that intensity away and it's just, the dog's just hanging out. The dog's just sitting there. The dog's just relaxing. These tools are powerful, and they're powerful to get the dogs to get more intense with what it is that you're looking for them to do, not to take that away. That's where they are great for sports work. They are great for, even just simple things of trying to convince a dog to walk with a wheelchair, for instance, tasks, service dog tasks, just things like that are really, really good for stuff like that. Because we're not using it in the sense of look at me, but don't look at that. We're using it in the sense of what it was intended to be able to do is just focus on this task at hand and be the most powerful at it. As soon as you're trying to get your dog to say, don't look over there and look at me and using it, that's where you're building what I want to say is the natural drive in the dog of that defensive, guarding drive. You're exposed, you're bringing it out. As opposed for me, I want to take that away when I got my dog in public. When I got my dog on a sport field, I want to bring that, I want to bring it up. I want him to no, I'm going to go hard. That's why certain people, certain trainers, it's ridiculously impressive to watch. Because they always get pushback to people talking about these e-collars and how they're not bad. They're the world's greatest thing. They don't shut the dogs down. They actually drive the dogs to get more intense because they do. That's what they do. And people are thinking that you're shutting the dog down. You're thinking because the dog may appear like you tap the collar and the dog is no longer wanting to bark or react at another dog. You're thinking that it's actually making it go away, but it's not. It's building it up. Because the second that you don't have it, what happens? The second that you don't tap when you need to tap it, what happens? You see an explosion. And then when that happens, you lose trust again. I can't trust this dog. And what do you need after that? More management. More. You got to study them more. You got to watch them more. You got to call out every dog, every person, every squirrel, every rep. You got to be like laser focused on your environment of like scanning and searching and watching. And then when you're doing that, what do you think you're training your dog to do? The same thing. Scanning and searching the environment. Man, scanning and searching everything. So all that does is it builds more and more intensity as opposed to making it go away. These are some amazing tools, but they are for what I want to say is they're not for street use. That's the best language to use. They're not for street use. They're not for public use. They're not for I want to take my dog to the store use. They're not I want to go to the park use. They're not. They're just not for that. They're meant for what they're meant for is to build the intensity. They're not meant to bring it down. They're not meant to calm and relax the dog. They're meant to jazz the dogs up to get them to be just psycho. That's what they're meant to do. And you can't just say to yourself, "Oh, I don't use it that way." So I have a different way of doing this. Mine is different. But if you're using the same tool, so if I'm drilling a hole and I got a drill and a drill bit in the hole, I can't say I want to use this all of a sudden instead of just drilling a hole to start cutting trees down. It don't work that way. It doesn't work that way. The tool is meant for what the tool is created to do. I'm not going to use the tool in a different sense thinking I'm going to be able to use it in a way to get something else out of it. It's meant to do what it's meant to do, and that's to build intensity. That's the one thing that I want a lot of people to really just, when you're really looking at your dog, think about. Are you actually getting your dog to calm down, or are you actually getting them to get more and more excited? That's where the treats get complicated at first, because you're treating and clicking, and the dog starts to just get super hyper, like super intense. And the intensity has to go somewhere. It doesn't just get intense and like, oh, I like this feeling, I'm just gonna stay in this. No, it has to do something. And what a dog does is it barks. It barks. Because I really want to get a bark hold on my Kahi. And I'm just gonna be going through all this stuff on my training channel to show what's actually going on. And what you need not to be doing if you don't want this super aroused, on active, on work, high drive dog. You want a calm pet dog. You stay the heck away from all of these tools. You just stay away from them. They're not meant to get calm. They're meant to get excited. And you're just not going. So someone left a very interesting comment. This might be like 2 years ago now, on the concept of a positive and a positive can create a negative. Or a negative and a negative can create, no, it was a negative and a negative can create a positive. And I'm like, that's just not how math works. That's not the way it is. If I'm going to do something to get the dog excited, I'm going to expect to get something exciting out of the dog. I'm not going to do something of an exciting sense thinking I'm going to get the dog to be calm. That's the backwardness of all of this. If you want to get the dog to be calm, you have to be the calm. You have to do the calm. You have to just do straight up nothing at all. But you want to get the dog excited, you got to start to do all kinds of extra stuff. Extra things. And that's what, in reality, even when it comes down to just a basic obedience with dog training, we're creating the dogs to build this extra excitement. Because they claim it. You want the dog excited so that you could be able to do more reps and do more things and get more into it. But once that dog gets to this high level of excitement and you don't know what to do with it at that moment, that's where there's the sport dog trainers that have been doing this for years and years and years, and they have the skills of knowing how to channel that energy. But as far as a regular person just hanging out in your house, even my own self, I'm going to label that with, because when that energy gets there, I know how to do it with certain dogs. I keep myself safe in a way if I will keep a leash on the dog and I got a toy and a backup or something on me to make sure that I can, if this dog really wants to get crazy and starts to chew on me a little bit, I can protect myself. But what happens when we build and build? What to do with that excitement in that moment? You have to put it somewhere. And that's where a lot of the obedience training is like confusing, because you're building them and then you're just let it go. You want the dog to like release and let that go. It's not the way this world works. You're going to build something into something crazy. That's why now if I want to be able to, where's that dog at? Oh, there she is. Now if I want to be able to get this dog here to be able to like sit or lay down or something, all I got to do is just ask it for it. And I can use leash pressure even to just like, hey, this is what I want. And it's not this exciting game. It's just we're laying down, we're hanging out type game. It's not this, we're building and building and building. Because what happens is when you get that build and you have no release from that build, that's where that's where you get the 18 stitches in your arm. That's unfortunate, and that's what happens. That's when the kid gets bit. That's when the dog hurts the other dog, bites the other dog. That's when all this stuff starts to happen, because we have all this energy, all this craziness, which is good for a dog when you want that, but not just sitting in your home and not for taking it around the block for a walk. It's got all this energy, and then you're like, what do I do with this? And then you gotta do something. You gotta do something. And this is a thing that a lot of people get jammed up because you'll bring a toy out. Then the dog will snag your hand and try to grab that toy from you. The dog will start to do things like that because it has all this energy that, excuse me, that in my opinion just doesn't need to be there. I mean, in my opinion, it shouldn't be there for a good pet dog. It should be able to go do a work that it needs to do, go play a game. After we do that, we are done. We are done. We are off duty. We are completely hanging out. There's no running of food. There's no chasing nothing. There's no jumping nothing. There's no eyeballing nothing. There's no nothing. The dog is just going to be chill. That's when I could just have that chill dog. I could take it anywhere I want to go. I don't need to play a game with it. I don't need to do anything with it. I'm explaining to that dog what I want. Everything is calm. And when you're working with that animal in that way, that you're showcasing to them that everything is calm, not getting them all excited and not making them be more intense, the dog is going to want to stay in that more and more and more. That intense, it's too much for the dogs, and it's too much for you. It's just too much. You don't want that. But yet, all these things are creating the dogs to just get to be into this absolute rampage. This rampage of life. And a lot of people, y'all know what I'm talking about. You see that dog in your house right now, or you see that dog when you take it for a walk in public. It's in this rampage. It's just in this like, just crazy mindset, as opposed to it just being in the world of looking around and saying, oh, hey, I see what's going on. You want the dog to be independent of you when you're out in public, so the dog can be able to think through, process through, troubleshoot, do all that on its own. It doesn't need to come through you. It can come through it itself. Dogs are this capable. They are smart. They are intelligent enough to know how to be able to handle themselves. They know how to be able to move around the world. They don't need us to tell them every 2 seconds what it is that we need from them. And when you're doing that, you're building that intensity so that dog has no choice but to just keep staying in this heightened arousal stance. I want everyone to just really, this is the main thing. I'm gonna probably start up like a back and forth here. A back and forth of get the heck away from these tools if you want to be able to take your dog for a walk around the block. Get these tools on your dog and start using them if you want to get your dog to be intense to be able to do something. Intense to do something. The clicker is probably the smartest thing that human beings have created to be able to really get a dog to be able to perform. Because before it was just like, that's why I don't understand the prong collar side of it, because we were using that in reality more to try to activate the dogs as opposed to the clicker. But now with the clicker, we're able to really build this intensity in these dogs that is like, it's impressive. It really is impressive. And if someone was really smart that came up with the whole marketing rewards and all this to be able to get the dogs to be insane and impressive. And the more high aroused drive they are, the faster their obedience looks, the stronger their bites are, the better, cleaner, sharper, prettier, everything about the dog starts to just keep getting better. The more and more intense that you build the dog. But yeah, that's great for a sport field. For your pet dog, I know you're struggling because a lot of y'all see that. You have that. And it's weird because when you go to someone to try to figure out how to be able to help you from that, even when someone says, oh, put the e-collar on the dog, and that's going to be able to help you with the dog, you realize, like, it's actually not. I still have to keep using it. The main thing is, if it this is the best word. If it solved your issues, it should just be on there. When you solve the issue, now it's gone. Now the issue is fixed. But that's not how it happens. That's just not the way it works. That's not. And then everyone gets this. This is the new, say, someone could say, I got a high ego because I don't want tools on my dog. But I'm saying I don't want, everyone's using it in the sense of the tool now is a backup. It's a safety thing, just in case. But you need a safety thing because you know something weird's going on. You wouldn't need a safety thing if you knew everything was all right. If everything was good to go, you didn't need no safety unit, some safety backup. But because you know something weird is happening, you see it here and there. It may not be every day, but every time you randomly see something, you're like, ooh, what's going on with that? And you feel confident because you have a button to be able to push. That doesn't mean that you solved or fixed the issue. That means that all you did was create the issue to stay there and intensify that issue. Because now the dog, so if you're using it for, say, your recall, you may intensify that dog to run back to you, but you didn't actually solve the issue of what's going on. What's actually happening? What's driving me to have to look and say, I need that dog to come back to me right now because I can see something weird going on here. You're not addressing that. You're building the intensity of, run back to me real fast. And then what happens? Another dog comes up to you and runs and bites you or bites your dog because you're building intensity that don't need to be there. When you take that intensity away, there's no fights going on anymore. There's no tiffs. There's no weirdness. There's no strangeness happening. And that's something that I want a lot of people to think about, because in reality, my opinion, a lot of this training stuff, that's the word I want to use, forces dogs to be antisocial. They're very, very antisocial animals. They don't know how to like do anything with anything else. They run away from other dogs. They can't be around other dogs. They can't do anything around other dogs. They're very antisocial. And that is a beautiful thing for sports, because I want to be able to have all the dogs out on the sport field waiting in the little stage thing. I want my dog to be on that field, and I don't want my dog to want to interact with nothing. Nothing. Only me. Nothing. Only me, only the decoys, or only the agility field, only the dock for dock diving. I don't want them to even look at another dog. I want them to stay focused on what our task is. And that makes the dogs be antisocial. They don't know how to even mingle, get along, or even do anything with another dog. And that's just what I personally see. The more stuff that they have, the more that they're antisocial animals. Thank you. It's interesting. I did use some of my service dog training stuff for Johnny. I use my clicker a lot. Well, he definitely responded to it, because he's looking at me now. Look, he's like, "Oh my goodness, where's my treat? Where's my treat?" And what were we just doing right now? Man, this is a perfect example. So I could show stuff like this all day long. We were just hanging out. We were just chill. Everybody was laying down. Everything was just so calm. I just clicked that button, and it just got everyone. Now Johnny's like, I got to go do something. The dude's down there walking. He's like, it builds them up as opposed to taking them to slow them down. That's why if you want to stay calm, just stay calm. Don't do nothing. Nothing at all. Even because they're calm, and I can, we're calm. Click and feed. We're calm. Not forget even click, but just feed every time that I see that they're calm. It forces them to just want to get up and get up and get up. And then what happens when you stand up, the dog, let's go make something happen. Let's go. As opposed to just like, whoa, let's relax. Let's just chill. Let's just be here. It just drives them to be, the best word I could use is the best word for it, is crazy. It drives them crazy. It keeps them just staying in this super heightened arousal stance that is just, it's good for when you need it. But thinking that I'm going to just click and feed my dog away to be able to get it to go to a walk down the park and at the playground and stuff, you're setting your dog up, in my opinion, for failure, because it's going to make it want to only stay in this heightened arousal stance. It may look pretty because it's aroused and it's right next to you, but what happens when you don't look? What happens when something new in the environment comes? That's when it's like, oh, I don't trust my dog, because you can't, because the dog is, it's like a, that's the only way I can really look at it in a sense. It's like that the drug addict, you're like, I thought everything was fine, but as soon as you gave him $20, he off going to go buy his stuff. So you can't really trust him. You give him a little bit of trust as long as he ain't got no money. But as soon as he's got a little bit of money, you're like, I don't know what's going on here. So that's how you are with the dog. You trust him as long as everything is like this. But if anything over there changes up or anything happens, you're like, I can't trust him. No, you just do all the extra. And all it does is just keep making it go and go and go, making it worse and worse and worse. And this boy, he got up. He's going over there to go dig on some stuff now. He's like, I got to go do something. As opposed to we was just chilling. We was just relaxed. It builds in such a positive way in a sport manner. Such a negative, toxic way in a pet hangout, relaxed dog. It is. It's not fair to the dog to keep them in this heightened arousal stance. And that's what both these two tools in specific, e-collar systems and clickers, and both of them are really amazing tools to build intensity in the dog. It's amazing how smart we are as humans to be able to create stuff to be able to do that. But the thing is, it should have stayed where it stayed and not trying to bleed into street use. It's not for street use. You're just not going to see dogs with any kind of this training on them be good street dogs. I mean, they may look good. They may appear to be good. They may be in position. They may not bark at other dogs, but allow them to just let that dog be able to walk. See what that dog will do. That's where you'll find the realness, not the superficial things that people could put on a show, but the realness of the dog. The realness of the dog will start to expose to see like where you actually are with that dog, because that's where you're on edge all the time. You can't just relax. You're on edge. You're like, oh my goodness, what's going on? What's going on? Because the dog doesn't know how to troubleshoot for its own. It only knows how to be extremely dependent upon you. It can't be thinking on its own. And that's what I want a lot of people to just really just Understand that basic sense.